Hi, this is Amy Romeo. Welcome back to Faux Leather Crafts Camp. In this video today, I'll be showing you how to make these summer themed wristlets for your keys using faux leather, heat transfer vinyl, and a Cricut. I'll show you how to get the 2 SVGs for this project in just a moment, but first let's run through the materials that we'll be using. I'll be using my Cricut Maker, but you can use any of the current Cricut machines because I cut faux leather with the standard fine point blade that's included on the Maker, the Explorer, and both of the Joy machines. The faux leather that I'm using is in a sheet, but you can also buy faux leather in rolls. I'll have links to all of the materials that I use for you in the description. And then I'll be applying some heat transfer vinyl to the top and the inside of the wristlets. You can use glitter, you can use regular heat transfer vinyl, you could also use foil iron-on. It's completely up to you. And to apply the heat transfer vinyl onto the faux leather, I'm going to be using my Easy Press Mini set to the low setting, but you could also use a regular Easy Press set to about 265 degrees if that's what you have. I'll also have a heat pressing pad to protect my surface and a cover sheet while I'm pressing. This is a Teflon sheet that I've trimmed down to size, but you could also use butcher paper or parchment paper. I'll be cutting the faux leather on a purple strong grip Cricut mat and the heat transfer vinyl on a green mat. If you're using either of the Cricut Joys, you can cut your faux leather with the green Joy size mats. I'll be using some blue painter's tape to help me get good cuts. I have some different craft scissors on hand, also weeding tools. And then I'll be using some jewelry making pliers to attach the little optional charms, or if you wanted to attach a tassel. If you wanted to make the optional charms, you'll also need some glue. I'll use some Fabri-Tac for that. And then for the wristlet hardware, you'll need these keychain pieces, and they come in different colors and different metal finishes. This is a 1" that I'll be using. They also come larger in a 1 1/4 inch, but I'll be using the 1". There's a silver, there's a gold, there's rose gold, all different colors. Also, I have some optional faux suede tassels and some 10mm jump rings. Again, I'll link to all of these supplies for you. And to close off these little ends of the wristlets, you'll need some nylon jaw pliers. And I'll show you when we squeeze, the nylon protects the metal finish on the piece from getting scratched up. A lot of times if you buy these wristlet pieces on Amazon, you'll get the pliers with them as well. So again, check that link in the description for you, and I'll have the pliers for you as well. Okay, so let's hop into how to get the SVGs for this project, and then we'll go into Design Space and we will get started cutting out our mats and then assembling our wristlets. To get the SVG for this and all of the daily event projects, visit the event page at amyromeo.com/summer24 or click the link in the description. You'll also see the option to upgrade to the event VIP pass, where you'll get instant access to all of the daily event projects, bonus files, and more. So starting with a blank canvas in Cricut Design Space, you'll click on Upload and then Upload Image, and you'll browse to where the unzipped SVG files are for these projects. So I have 2 of them. One is the hibiscus and one is the sea life. They're both going to cut in the exact same way. So I think I'm going to choose one and show it to you in Design Space. And then I will also cut out the layers for the second one. And when we assemble the projects, I'll show you both of them at the same time. So here you can see the preview of the sea life wristlet. I'll click Continue and then Upload. And that will bring the shapes onto my canvas here in Design Space. So you can see there's quite a few layers happening here. Let me go ahead and click this drop down menu so we can see all of them. I'm also going to ungroup them so that I can move them around. So the wristlet has 3 parts. It has the faux leather base here for the top layer of the wristlet, and then it has a heat transfer vinyl layer that you will cut from the heat transfer vinyl and press on top. And then there's also a bottom shape. So we've got a top of the wristlet, a bottom shape for the wristlet, and then also our top decoration. Now this is our little charm, optional charm, a little seahorse, and we'll cut the front and the back of the seahorse from faux leather, and then we will press our little heat transfer vinyl seahorse on top. So I am going to cut this piece because I'll be using some of that Caesar glitter heat transfer vinyl. So I will cut a piece for that to be the inside of my wristlet, and I'll also be cutting this layer, and I'll also be cutting this back layer and these 2 layers from faux leather. So let's go ahead and click the Make It button. And Design Space is going to separate our mats for us into our different materials. The first thing we want to do is go through and click mirror on each of our mats because heat transfer vinyl and faux leather cut in reverse. And then here on our faux leather mat, what I want to do is drag my shapes away from each other a little bit and also away from the edges of my mat to allow for some room for some blue painter's tape. So I've done that there, and then I will put these little guys here. I will be cutting all of these shapes from the same faux leather, but you could definitely use different faux leathers on this one mat if you wanted to. Now for this shape, I'll be cutting this one from glitter heat transfer vinyl using its own material setting. And this one I will be using some white Caesar Easy Weed. You can use any heat transfer vinyl you'd like, but again, I'm just separating them from each other and away from the edges of the mat. So let me click back here on the faux leather mat. I'll click the continue button. So I always like to cut the faux leather mat first, and for this mat I'll be using a setting called Faux Leather Paper Thin. If you don't have it bookmarked as a favorite like I do, you can click on Browse All Materials and search for it. If you're using the Explore Air 2, you'll need to turn your dial to Custom before you'll be able to find this setting and search. Then when you choose Faux Leather Paper Thin, you'll want to choose More for your pressure. And here's the reminder that we're just using that regular fine point blade that comes with all of the current Cricut machines. Now the other vinyl mats you will cut using the recommended material setting for your particular vinyl. So for this heat transfer vinyl, I'll be using Caesar Easy Weed, and I just like the iron-on setting for that one with default pressure. And then this one, since I'm cutting that thicker Caesar glitter heat transfer vinyl, I'll use the glitter vinyl setting with default pressure, and I will probably repeat the cut at least one time. Okay, so let's hop back over to my overhead camera. We'll cut out the mats for this design. We'll also cut out the mats for the hibiscus design, and then I'll show you how they come together. So I've already cut my faux leather down to a size that's just slightly larger than that long wristlet shape that's going to cut, and also the little seahorse charms. And what I'm going to do is place these pretty side down on my purple strong grip mat, right in that spot that the mat preview screen showed me they were going to cut. Now I'm going to press all over with my fingers, and then I'm going to use some blue painter's tape and just tape it down on all sides of the pieces of faux leather. And I've used my blue painter's tape before, so I'm just reusing some pieces that I have saved. You can save these and reuse them quite a few times before you need to throw them away. So now that our material is all taped to the mat, we have our faux leather paper thin setting with more pressure selected. We're ready to load the mat and begin the cut. So the mat has finished cutting, and before I unload the mat, I want to check the cut with my sharp weeding tool just to see if the cut went all the way through, and it looks like it did, but if it didn't, I can press that cut button again as many times as I need to, and the cut will repeat as long as I haven't unloaded the mat. So this looks good. I'm going to go ahead and unload the mat, and then we'll remove our shapes. And the little seahorses have a little hole cut out at the top. You can just remove that also. So here's our piece of faux leather, and as I mentioned, if you wanted to, you could have pressed a thinner heat transfer vinyl like the regular Easy Weed or some foil iron-on. You could have pressed that onto the back of this piece of faux leather before you cut it, and then when the Cricut made the cut, it would have cut the faux leather on the front and also that heat transfer vinyl on the back. But because I want to use this thicker Caesar glitter, I'm going to cut this separately and then heat press that. Okay, so I'm going to set aside my faux leather shapes. I'm going to return now to Design Space and cut out both of my heat transfer vinyl mats. Okay, so I've gone ahead and cut out all of my layers. I've cut out my faux leather base layer. I've also cut out that glitter heat transfer vinyl layer that I'll be putting on the inside of each of these wristlets. Remember, you could cut this from faux leather if you'd like and glue them together, or you could press heat transfer vinyl onto the faux leather before you cut it. It's totally up to you. But I also have all of my top vinyl layers cut out, and also the vinyl and the faux leather layers for my little charms. I have my Easy Press Mini set to low, and the first thing I'm going to do is press the heat transfer vinyl onto our little charms and glue them together, the front and back, so that those can start drying. So let's go ahead and bring this over to my heat pressing pad. And all I'm going to do is figure out which shape my little seahorse goes onto. Looks like this one. I just want to line that up and then cover with something like a Teflon sheet or butcher paper or parchment paper. We're going to press for about 10 seconds. Now we're going to try and keep the faux leather flat on the mat and gently peel away that clear carrier sheet of the vinyl. This is warm, so be careful. If when you're lifting, your vinyl lifts up, just place that carrier sheet right back down in position and press for a few more seconds. But this looks pretty good. And what I want to do is have it cool, nice and flat. So I'm just going to pop it underneath my heat pressing pad for a moment. We'll move that one to the side, and we'll repeat with our little hibiscus charm. This one has 2 layers. This one has the flower, and then it has the little stamen. So again, I'm going to figure out which direction I'm using. And there's a little hole here, a hole cut out in this flower layer. That really helps. That's going to help me line this up. And there we go. And then this will go right there. Okay, so this is the back. So that's lined up. Again, I will cover and press. Carefully peel that top protective layer off. Now we'll place the next vinyl layer. We'll cover again and press some more. And there we go. That looks great. So we'll let this one cool, and then we will glue together the seahorse. And I have my heavy book here because after we glue the front and the back layers together, we're going to press them underneath a heavy book for about an hour, and that's going to help us get a really nice seamless edge and a really flat faux leather charm. So I'm just using my Fabri-Tac. I'm going to place the glue all on the back of just one part of the 2-sided little charm here. You want the glue to go to the edge, but not all the way to the edge. When we press this nice and flat, that glue will press up to the edge and create a really nice seamless look. We'll just line up the front and the back, line up that little hole, and when you have all the edges neatly lined up, wipe away any excess glue with your fingers or with a damp paper towel. And now I'm just going to press this underneath my book. And now I will repeat with gluing the hibiscus. There we go. So again, we'll let this one dry nice and flat underneath our book, and we'll continue pressing our other vinyl layers. So I'm going to start with pressing the back layer of the glitter heat transfer vinyl onto the wristlet. So I'll put the faux leather pretty side down, heat transfer vinyl shiny side up, and I'm just going to kind of line that up on the edges. Again, if you wanted to glue 2 pieces of faux leather front to back to make this a thicker, sturdier wristlet, you could do that. I would use the same glue and again press under something heavy for at least a few hours. So I'm just going to cover and press this all up and down until the heat transfer vinyl is completely adhered to the back of the faux leather. Now again, I'll hold that faux leather, try and keep it flat, and just gently peel away that carrier sheet. Once we've done this side, we're going to flip it over and we're going to press the vinyl layer for the top. So we'll just peel away that carrier sheet again. Go slowly, so if you need to, you can place it right back down and press some more. And that looks pretty good. So I'm going to set this one aside, let it cool nice and flat again. And I'll just repeat that process with the hibiscus design. There we go. Again, we'll let this one cool nice and flat, and we'll return to our other one. Now, sometimes when you're lining up heat transfer vinyl on the back of the faux leather, sometimes there's a little bit of overlap from pressing. So you can just use your scissors and sort of trim up any of those little edges. And now we're going to apply our wristlet hardware. So for that, you'll want those nylon jaw big pliers. Now, if you don't have something like this, you could use regular pliers, and I would just put something soft like maybe a washcloth on the inside or a piece of paper towel, again, to keep your metal from getting scratched when you squeeze. So all we're going to do is fold this over, and this is called a wristlet because it slides on your wrist and your keys can dangle here from the little bottom hardware. And we're going to line up our edges, our tail of our faux leather, so they're flush with each other. Then we're just going to slide them inside of this little bracket. And again, this is a 1-inch wide piece of wristlet hardware. Now this is a little bit tricky, but you're going to want to keep those pieces of faux leather flush and all the way to the back of the keychain hardware. And then you'll want to use those nylon jaw pliers and very gently squeeze that closed. Now, the back of the piece of hardware, it has some teeth, and those teeth sink into the faux leather, so it's a really nice, secure fit. Now we have our little keychain here, and imagine our little charm has dried for at least an hour. Now what we can do is use a 10mm jump ring, and we're just going to attach our little charm to the key ring on the wristlet, just like that. And if we like, we can also add an optional tassel. Again, with a 10mm jump ring, I'll just attach that faux suede tassel, attach it to the key ring, and that's it. Our summer themed faux leather wristlets are complete. Remember, to get this and all the event files for the Faux Leather Crafts Camp event, visit amyromeo.com/summer24. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.